picturing it as like a love song, and then the mom is singing it to the daughter. And
did you cry in Frozen too? Because that happens in Frozen a little bit.
Well, I didn't really see Frozen.
Ooh.
But
after a big bounce back win versus Atlanta, the Fever are up for their first real test of the
In a jaw-dropping turn of events, WNBA legend Sue Bird has come to the defense of the league and its referees, despite mounting outrage over unfair treatment toward Caitlin Clark. Fans are absolutely livid, calling out what they see as blatant corruption and bias. How could a respected icon side with the system instead of the rising star? This explosive controversy has ignited a firestorm across social media. Get ready, because what Sue Bird just said is leaving everyone stunned. Sue Bird's controversial comments sparked debate. When WNBA legend Sue Bird recently spoke out in defense of league referees amid mounting controversy surrounding rookie Caitlin Clark's treatment, her comments struck a nerve with fans across the basketball world. Bird suggested the officials are just doing their jobs and argued that Clark needs to adjust to the league. For many, that felt less like a measured take and more like a dismissal of legitimate concerns. Fans expected something different, perhaps more nuance, or at least an acknowledgement of the rising frustration among those watching Clark take hit after hit with little officiating response. But instead, what they got was a defense of the very system that seems to be failing one of the WNBA's most important new stars. It's no secret that Caitlin Clark, since entering the league, has faced intense physical play. What's more troubling is the perception that referees are often turning a blind eye. Whether it's hard fouls going uncalled or uneven enforcement of basic rules, the lack of consistency has become too blatant to ignore. Yes, every rookie has to adjust. But when it looks like one specific player is being targeted, or at least not afforded the same protections as others, it's not unreasonable to ask questions. And when a respected figure like Sue Bird chooses to stand by the system instead of calling for accountability, it sends a disheartening message to fans and players alike. Bird's loyalty to the league she helped build is understandable. She's a cornerstone of its legacy. But defending poor officiating or brushing aside obvious bias doesn't help the WNBA grow. In fact, it risks alienating the very audience the league is finally beginning to reach. The spark the WNBA needed. There's no overstating the impact Caitlin Clark has had on the WNBA this season. Her arrival has brought unprecedented attention to the league. Sold-out arenas, prime television slots, social media buzz, and a surge in ticket sales. She is, without question, one of the most marketable and visible athletes in women's sports today. Clark didn't ask for special treatment. What she's asking for, and what fans are now demanding on her behalf, is fair treatment. And yet, night after night, she plays through increasingly physical defense with little whistle support. While Clark keeps competing with grit and professionalism, the silence from the league has been deafening. This isn't just about Clark's stats, which continue to impress. It's about how the WNBA handles a generational opportunity. For years, league officials and advocates have pushed for more visibility, more investment, and a broader fan base. Now that such a moment has arrived, the response feels disappointingly passive. Where is the league leadership when a player taking center stage is routinely subjected to physical contact that, in any other league, would draw immediate fouls? Where is the accountability? In most professional sports, your marquee athletes are protected, not coddled, but respected. They're not asked to endure unnecessary punishment just to prove they belong. A pattern, too clear to ignore. A growing number of fans and analysts aren't simply frustrated, they're convinced there's a pattern in how Clark is being officiated. They point to clips that show her being bumped, shoved, and outright fouled, often without consequence. And just as often, she's the one whistled moments later for much lighter infractions. This isn't just the usual adjustment period for a rookie. It's a glaring inconsistency that feels personal. The perception, and at times the reality, is that Clark is being held to a different standard. And whether that stems from jealousy, league politics, or a desire to keep her grounded, it's hurting the WNBA's credibility. Referees are supposed to uphold the rules, not allow games to devolve into something resembling wrestling matches. Some opponents have responded to Clark's confidence and sharp shooting with excessive physicality. That's not unexpected. But what is concerning is that the referees seem more inclined to ignore it than address it. At a time when the WNBA has a rare shot at expanding its fan base, this kind of officiating is a liability. It doesn't just affect Clark, it sends a message to every young athlete watching that excellence might be punished rather than rewarded. That's not how you build a lasting legacy. A tale of two leagues. Imagine for a moment that this situation was unfolding in the NBA. A rookie like Victor Wembanyama drawing national headlines, selling out venues, and carrying a struggling franchise, but being hit hard on every drive and left without calls. Would the league allow that? Highly unlikely. In the NBA, protecting rising stars is viewed as protecting the future of the game. Officials are held accountable, adjustments are made, statements are issued. In the WNBA, Clark is being asked to toughen up instead of being given the respect her talent and impact deserve. There's a deeper issue at play: the persistent double standard in how female athletes are treated compared to their male counterparts. Clark is doing exactly what fans and broadcasters hoped someone would do: generate buzz, elevate play, and bring national attention. Yet the response from some corners of the league feels more like resistance than celebration. When Sue Bird sides with the status quo rather than recognizing this imbalance, it reveals just how entrenched that double standard remains. Clark's presence isn't just shaking up defenses, it's shaking up long-held assumptions about how young stars should be received in this league. Fans aren't angry because they expect perfection. They're angry because they expect progress. Clark deserves to be treated with fairness, not favoritism. But right now, she's not getting either. And until the WNBA addresses that, it risks not just losing momentum, but losing trust. Sue's legacy and the WNBA's crisis, Caitlin Clark deserves better. There's no denying Sue Bird's impact on women's basketball. Her resume is legendary: four-time WNBA champion, five-time Olympic gold medalist, and one of the most respected figures the game has ever seen. She elevated the WNBA with her leadership, skill, and grace. But greatness as a player doesn't grant immunity from criticism. And right now, Bird's public stance on the league's current issues, particularly surrounding Caitlin Clark, is raising serious concerns. When someone of Sue Bird's stature defends questionable officiating and downplays the treatment Clark is receiving on the court, it doesn't just feel out of touch, it feels harmful. Bird recently remarked that the rough play against Clark is just physical basketball, dismissing what fans are witnessing week after week: blatant no calls, repeated hard fouls, and a clear pattern of mistreatment. This isn't simply about tough defense, it's about protecting players and ensuring fairness. Bird has every right to speak her mind, but with great influence comes great responsibility. Her words carry weight. When she downplays what's happening, it gives cover to the very system many fans feel is undermining the WNBA's growth. Instead of leveraging her platform to demand improved officiating and player safety, Bird appears to be defending the status quo, a system many believe is failing both the players and the fans. Clark isn't just any rookie. She's brought unprecedented attention to the league. She's packed arenas, broken viewership records, and introduced women's basketball to a new generation of fans. But instead of being celebrated and protected, she's often treated as a problem. That contradiction hasn't gone unnoticed. The fans' frustration, why the anger is justified. So why are fans angry? Because they've invested, not just in Caitlin Clark, the athlete, but in what she represents: hope, progress, and a chance for the WNBA to finally reach its full potential. Clark brought in new viewers, sold out venues nationwide, and gave the league its biggest spotlight in years. Yet she's constantly met with resistance, physical abuse on the court, and perhaps worst of all, silence from the very people who should have her back. Fans see what's happening. They see Clark being pushed, tripped, and knocked to the ground without consequence. And then they hear legends and media figures brushing it off with, "She'll be fine," or "It's just how the game is played." That's when the frustration turns to fury. It feels like a dismissal, not just of Clark, but of every fan who wants better for the league. This new wave of supporters isn't afraid to speak out. They're not here to quietly consume whatever product the league offers. They're vocal, loyal, and demanding change. They want Clark and every player to be treated with fairness and respect. And if the WNBA doesn't respond, those fans may walk away, taking their wallets and viewership with them. You can't beg for attention and then punish the very player who delivered it. The frustration isn't rooted in entitlement, it's rooted in passion. Fans want the WNBA to succeed, and many believe the league is squandering a once-in-a-generation opportunity. A silent media and a broken narrative. Another issue compounding the problem: the silence of the media. Too many journalists and commentators have chosen to sidestep the story. Instead of calling out poor officiating or digging into the league's handling of Clark, they remain quiet, likely out of fear of losing access or rocking the boat. But that's not journalism, that's complicity. Media outlets should be asking tough questions. Why is the league's biggest draw being allowed to take repeated hits with little to no protection? Why are some of the most influential voices in the sport downplaying what many fans consider a serious issue? And perhaps most importantly, who benefits from maintaining the status quo? When the media fails to speak up, fans notice. That's why many have taken matters into their own hands, posting video compilations, creating commentaries, and calling out hypocrisy online. If traditional media refuses to hold the league accountable, the public will do it for them. A call for leadership, not defensiveness. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark. It's about the WNBA's identity and future. If the league wants to grow, it needs to create an environment where stars are protected, not punished. And that starts with its most powerful voices, people like Sue Bird, leading the charge for transparency, fairness, and reform. Clark didn't ask to be the face of the league, but she's become it. And with that visibility comes a responsibility, not just for her, but for those around her. She's playing with heart, class, and competitive fire every night. The least the league can do is ensure she's treated with basic respect and safety. Sue Bird should be helping shape the future, not shielding a broken system from criticism. Legends don't protect dysfunction, they challenge it. They evolve with the game and help usher in a new era. If she truly wants what's best for women's basketball, Bird should be standing with fans and players who are calling for change, not dismissing them. Sue Bird's comments have sparked a wildfire of backlash as fans feel betrayed by a legend they once adored. With the Caitlin Clark controversy growing by the minute, the WNBA is now facing serious questions about its integrity and fairness. Is this a moment of reckoning for the league, or just the beginning of a bigger storm? One thing is clear: fans won't stay silent. Subscribe now, because this battle for truth in the WNBA is far from over.